At a spiritual, at a theological level, men and women are equal in the eyes of God. What rights they continue to exercise in society differ. I think we have to get away from this simple assumption that there is a position or role of women in Islam, and that women are being badly treated because there's something fundamentally within Islam itself. Definitely there are verses in the Quran, just as there are verses in any scripture, that have created a bias against women or have allowed male interpretation of certain things against women. But one has to recognize that these interpretations have come about largely in societies that were male-run. It's as simple as that. And societies are still predominantly male-run, despite all the talk that we have about emancipation and freedom, etc. So I go back to the issue of respect and compassion, and that where men are and women are abusing each other's roles or their own roles in order to get what they want from a marriage or from society, that is not the basis of a good Islamic society. It's not about opportunism. It's not about, oh, I have this God-given right, so I will use it irrespective of how that influences society or my family. It's about what vision do I have from the principles I've gleaned that talk about mercy and respect and creating society where people are allowed to express themselves, are allowed to raise issues and not live in fear. And I think if we continue to polarize societies, oh, this is a man's role and this is a woman's role, or that Muslim societies have created, and it's undoubtedly Muslim countries are still run predominantly on patriarchal systems. But that's not just theological. The reason for that is economic, the reason for that is educational, the reason for that is political. And unless women have the courage of their convictions, and men to support them, to say, no, this cannot be a progressive society. A progressive society cannot be one where half of society is denied the freedom to express themselves, whether under law or theology or politics or education or whatever, then we can continue to have theological debates and nothing will change. So many of the issues that women face are actually not theological. They're down to political and economic necessities as well. The issue of women in Islam, I think, has to be probably the most contested issue for Muslims and non-Muslims. And for Muslim women, a lot of the time they will argue that it's the most misunderstood aspect of Islam. And those who are against Islam will argue that it's the most unattractive aspect of Islam. And I think that, again, this is one of those areas where what is really reflected is a huge disparity between text and context. So that a lot of Muslim women would argue that, the freedom and emancipation and equality is there in the Quran or in Hadith, etc. It's just that it's not there in practice. The issue is, why is it not there in practice? And why does it continue not be there in practice? I think that it would be a fallacy to say that Western feminism has succeeded Western women, and all Muslim women need to do is just copy what Western feminism, and Western feminism hasn't succeeded Western women either. And the reasons why it hasn't succeeded could be the same as why feminism in the Muslim countries is not succeeding either, because the structures are so difficult to fight against. And unless we have Muslim women and men, because gender is not about women, it's about men and women, who are committed to creating a society where there is less oppression, where there is more opportunity for women to be able to express, and where both actually know what is the value of education and what is their vision for society rather than just a reaction to society, then I think women's emancipation will continue to be a problem. Anything that a woman does that contravenes what a Muslim man thinks a woman should be doing, she's immediately tarnished as being westernized. And, I think that we don't live in an age anymore, hopefully, where that generalization should mean anything anymore. Women only have to open their mouths and their partners might call them westernized. We really have to move away from that blanket terminology. I think that if Muslim women are looking at scriptural sources for asserting equality and asserting the right to freedom of expression, then they can find these then they can find this in the Quran. They can talk about the ethical imperative on everyone to recognize women's right to express themselves. The real issue is not, we can stretch our theologies, we can stretch our scriptures to say whatever we want. At the end of the day, it's what we do out there in concrete terms as people together, as men and women together. And one could argue that, is there a fear, is there insecurity amongst some Muslim men that they think society itself will destructure if women are allowed voices or women are allowed support in unconventional ways? I don't think it will. I think society is already breaking down to a large extent, although the semblance might be that it's still very cohesive. But I think mentally and psychologically what's going on in so many Muslim societies, especially the diaspora ones, is really, really, really quite bad and very anti-Islamic, if I can use that. So why not take the risk? Why not go out and get your voice heard, even if it destabilizes society slightly? But unless men are on board, then women can shout from the rooftops and nothing is going to change.